Brant DXT grain carts have efficient unload speeds, large carrying capacities, unmatched durability, and reliable components that make sure your cart is working when you are. Lead the field with DXT grain carts from Brant. Visit your local Brant dealer for more information.
Every weekday at 10 a.m. Central, one of the personalities from Real Agriculture appears on RFD TV and Rural Radio 147's Market Day Report to shed light and insight and perspective on what is happening in the world of agriculture. Enjoy. Great to be with you here this morning. I think overall there is a sort of a sense of like, where are we going with this? I saw that last graphic you had. There actually is a deal between Canada and the U.S., Mexico and the U.S. It's called the USMCA agreement that President Trump negotiated in his first presidency. And so the question is, what exactly is the ask? Since January, there's been a lot of pressure from the White House in terms of fentanyl being used. Is that the justification for these measures? Well, 1% of the fentanyl that is entering the U.S. is coming through Canada, not a significant amount at all. And of course, we do know that the White House is using the fentanyl as the reason for national security purposes to be able to justify the IEEPA tariffs and this method of tariff application. So I think right now there's, right away today, these are going into effect. The rest of the countries, it's August 7th, and I think China is August 12th. So maximum pressure being put on Canada to strike some sort of agreement that is still seems a little bit in doubt in the short term.
Yeah, it certainly does. And of course, you mentioned that Mexico secured a 90-day extension before their tariff rise. Is this simply a temporary reprieve, or do you think Mexico may have some real leverage to strike a better deal than Canada?
Yeah, it's hard to tell. A lot of people have really provided a lot of compliment to President Sheinbaum of Mexico, that she has, kind of been a little bit of the Trump whisperer, so to speak. At the end of the day, they've got a 90-day reprieve. There's still tariffs in place on Mexico in addition to anything above this, outside of the USMCA agreement, just like Canada. Mexico's, it's interesting, has been framed as like a 90-day extension. But really, if you look at it, they're in no different position than Canada is. Canada is just being treated a little bit with stiffer words, if we want to put it that way. I think both countries have taken a little bit of the same strategy after Trudeau left, and now we have Prime Minister Carney. Him and Sheinbaum seem to be executing on the same sort of level. I don't think Mexico has any sort of an upper hand. They're really in the same position, knowing that, hey, listen, this trade agreement that we have in place already is critical to the economy of all three countries. Let's find some way to appease the president and move forward that doesn't look poorly on each of those two leaders from a domestic policy or political standpoint. That's one of the risks for both Carney and Sheinbaum, is they cut a deal that hurts them politically back at home.
Such a complicated relationship. So what do you think the risks are with these tariffs? Do they pose, or what risk do they pose to the manufacturers and consumers on both sides of the border?
Yeah, listen, the audience of RFD TV and Rural Radio 147 know very clearly that the economies are very integrated. Cutting a deal or an agreement, a framework with Canada and Mexico for the U.S. is different than Japan, the U.K., Australia, and even China. They're shared borders, and so there is integrated supply chains that, as much as the president wants to bust those up and bring all that manufacturing back inside the U.S., it is going to prove to be very difficult. I'm confident that this is a little bit of a family dispute. I'm going to take the really optimistic route. I say that we're going to have a deal here in hopefully within the next week is what I'm really hoping. Of course, that's an educated guess, but I'm going to remain optimistic.
Well, that is good, and we hope to hear from you next week that is certainly the case. That's host of Real Ag Radio, Shaun Haney. Appreciate your time today. You can catch Shaun on his show, Real Ag Radio, which airs at 4:30 p.m. Eastern, weekdays on Rural Radio, Channel 147 on Sirius XM. And we will talk to him again Monday on Market Day Report.
Send us your feedback on that bit by sending me an email, shaney@realagriculture.com, or call the Real Ag Feedback line, 855-776-6147.